Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I'm finally reviewing a product that I've been wanting to for a while. This is DINTO's Prelude La Belle Rose Plumping Lip Tint. This is actually in collaboration with Daiso. Each product is about 5,000 won, which is roughly about $3 or $4. There's a total of 6 shades, which I did get all of them. When they were first released, they were sold out, so I had to wait a few months. But now they are fully stocked. For this product, it claims to be moisturizing and has this transparent-like finish to it. It also does have a cooling sensation to plump your lips, and it's supposed to be long-lasting. The body of the packaging is quite sturdy, but for the cap, it does have this kind of like, the plastic kind of feels a little fragile or not as sturdy, but overall the product is probably the most important, right? So starting off first, this is 21 Evening Rose. This is their best cool shade. I have this MLBB pink color. Compared to the promotional pictures, it's a lot more mute. It's not as vibrant. When it first applies onto your lips, it's sort of this light pink color. I do find that this formula does oxidize quite a bit, so it's going to look a lot different from the initial color when you apply it onto your lips. It does take about a good 20 seconds for it to fully oxidize, so it might be a little bit tricky to control the color. However, once it's oxidizing, you can also see a very beautiful glossy finish. So it has this glaze-like glossy finish, and you're going to see the wrinkles of your lips, but it doesn't accentuate it, so it's gonna have more of a fruity, juicy pout. I do like how it looks very glossy on the cupid's bow and on the bottom lip. Very easy to blend, very easy to blur. It does have a slight cooling sensation. It's quite refreshing. It's not too overwhelming. It does have a floral soap-like scent to it. It's not overwhelming. It is quite strong, so you're going to smell it when you're applying onto your lips. However, once it settles, you will not be able to smell it. The scent is okay, but I think I would have liked it to be a little bit less soapy. That's just my personal preference. I like the more that you apply, the more rosy it is going to look, sort of this pink rose color. So it's going to look a lot different from the promotional picture, which is unfortunate because I do like the initial color of this. Regardless, a very beautiful rosy pink color. I do like how it has a very nice watercolor-like effect. So it's really nice to create a gradient look. These shades are inspired by flowers. Again, a very beautiful fruity gloss. It does have more of a fixing gel formula to it. Some I think on the lips, similar to gel formulas like Peripera's Ink Mode Glowy Tint or even Roman's Lasting Color Gloss. I'd say for DINTO's, it's slightly a bit more thick, and once it applies on your lips, you're not going to be able to feel the product move around much. So this kind of tells me it's going to have a good stain. Let's go with the transfer test. So this is the stain that it leaves. It transfer a little bit. It does have a pretty pigmented stain. A little bit sticky, but it does feel quite moisturizing inside and out. So Evening Rose is at the bottom, and on top of that is Pink Prize. Overall, they're quite similar in muteness and shade. Both are also cool tone shades. Next up, this is 22 Midnight Rose. This is a cool tone shade. So I have this cherry fuchsia color. It is going to be the brightest out of all the shades today. Semi-brightening, so a very nice shade if you like a pop of color. The more they apply, the more bright and vibrant it is going to look. It does have violet purple undertones as well, and it is going to look rosy under some certain lightings, but overall up close it's going to look like a fuchsia violet shade. Midnight Rose is at the bottom. On top of that is Grape Balm and Cherry So Wet. Very similar in shade and brightness. This is 23 Dawn Rose. This is a neutral shade. Very beautiful MLBB blush pink color. This is definitely something around my palette as a neutral tone, slightly warm skin tone. It does seem to have a little bit of a mauve undertone, which kind of gives it a little bit of muteness. The gradients it does look quite similar to the promotional picture. A little does go a long way. A very small swipe to create this light shade. Very big difference in their shade, almost like 2 different colors for the gradients and full look. For the full look, the more they apply, the more mauve pink purple it is going to get. It's also mute as well. For the gradients, it looked a lot more pink, and for the full look, it looks a lot more purple. Very moisturizing, and again, it has a very nice cooling sensation. This one doesn't have any red in it, so I'm going to go in with another transfer test. For the stain, overall, it does look quite similar to the shade color. The stain doesn't get as rosy. Dawn Rose is at the bottom and Rose Finch is on top. Really similar to each other. Next up, this is 24 Dusk Rose. This is their best neutral shade. A little bit similar to the promotional picture, almost like a milky beige brown color, and it is a little bit more on the light side. Because of how light it is going to mix in a little bit with the original lip color. It does have a slight gray undertone. For the full look, it is going to look different from the promotional picture. and the more they apply, the more mauve brown it is going to look. Definitely one of my favorite shades to wear and a very trendy color. Dusk Rose is at the bottom. On top of that is Bare Maroon and Deepen More. Once they oxidize, quite similar to each other. This is 25 Morning Rose. This is their best warm shade. The gradient stick overall will look similar to the promotional picture. A little bit similar to 21 Evening Rose, except this is warm toned. It does seem to have a peachy coral undertone. For the full look, the more they apply, the more rosy it is going to look, similar to 21 Evening Rose. I do prefer the gradient stick more because the full look is a little bit too rosy for me. But if you were into rosy pink colors, I would recommend this. Morning Rose is at the bottom, and on top of that is Follow Rose. Follow Rose slightly has a little bit more brown in it, so it can go darker. Last but not least, this is 26 Noon Rose. This is a warm tone shade, and again for the gradients, like it looks similar to promotional pictures, maybe a little bit more mute. Sort of this coral pink color. It does have more coral in it. Maybe a little bit hard to see the shade because it is quite sheer. Again, for the full look, it's a lot different from the promotional picture. The more you apply, the more rosy it is going to get. Sort of this orange rose color. The orange in this will probably become more subtle the more they apply. Noon Rose is at the bottom. On top of that is Warm Rhythm and then Papaya Jam. Warm Rhythm is probably the undertone of Noon Rose as the gradient. And then once it oxidizes, it's going to look a lot similar to Papaya Jam on top. Papaya Jam is slightly bit more bright, so I want to say it's like a mixture of Warm Rhythm and Papaya Jam. Look quite similar mixed. For my international video, I'm going with 24 Dusk Rose, but I've also applied a light layer of concealer. Hopefully it doesn't oxidize. 23 Dawn Rose in the inner corners. Not much of a difference, but for sure it doesn't oxidize as much. So with that said, my favorites today are Dawn Rose and Dusk Rose. It takes a little bit of trial and error to control the color. Overall for this formula, it has a very nice glossy finish, very moisturizing, has a very nice plumping effect. I thought these were gonna have a pretty good stain, but they do remove easily with makeup remover. So I'm assuming that although they have a stain, they can probably last up to 3 to 4 hours. They also pair well together, probably would with other lip products. And it does have a sticky finish once you blot it, but it does feel quite moisturizing. That's all for today's video. I hope that you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next video.